Hey, welcome back to the channel. All right, the next saga is honest. I believe it's called Arcade Games. I've covered it up with my own writing and things like that, but that's okay. It makes infographic better. This saga will be running from June through August. We have the House of Mirrors tag and then the Clarity. This is not going to be about the tactic or any of those things. This is about how we're going to use those resources. I can see them in the event. I want them. Who are the best champions to use for them? And I'm learning from doing this in the last saga, just like Kabam's doing it, and they're trying to make it better too. I know how helpful that video was, and what I've done is I've made a separate infographic for the 6-star resources and then a separate one for the 7. We will go over both. I will spend a little bit of time talking about some of the champions. Fortunately, we are doing the top 10s already this month, the top 10 of each class. We've started the series. Mutant is now out, best of 2023, best of 2024. So you're going to have plenty of opportunities to hear me talk at length about these champions. I'm going to pick a few in each row maybe or something like that. Give my reason why some have 3 bow ties, some have 1, some have 2. And then before we go any farther, I need to absolutely give credit and a huge thank you to Kat Murdoch. If you're not familiar with Kat, she produces phenomenal art, mashups, of course, but then also these amazing infographics. She just put one out with all the updates to raids. The link to her Twitter feed and those sorts of information are in the description. They're always in the description of this because sometimes I do utilize her art. Thank you so much to her. Please go give her a follow. You will be better at this game for doing that. All right. Now, here's the other thing I want to mention really quick, and thank you so much, Sasquatch. Ban violates the Second Amendment on my Discord server. Totaling up, it looks like it's going to be 10 7-star 6 zones, which is a lot in the game as we speak. 2 rank 5 6-star gems, and a rank 2 7-star gem. I think there's even a 3-4 in there, if I remember, from the 6 stars. And then it was brought up, this potentially will go into the incursions as well, so there might even be more. All right, what is the basics for this as a 6-star, especially since we're not going to talk about every single champion, right? Is the 3-star, the 3 bow ties, is like, these are your best. The 1-stars or the 1 bow ties are like, you know what? If you know what you're doing, go out there, have some fun, right? And we'll talk about Invisible Woman, because I know a lot of you are already like, well, Invisible Woman, did you delete them on accident? And no, I did not. We will talk about her. As far as the 6 stars are concerned, one of the biggest factors for me, and we will cover this more across this month, but for this video are they available as a 7-star? And if not, or if they are, is there some really immediate, like, important use for them? And one of the best examples for this would be Shuri, which is why she's available as a 7-star. She's also so important and so helpful and so good in Necropolis. And so if that's something you still need to do, she has gone from what would normally be a 1 bow tie to 2 in this instance. That's just an example of that. All right, so let's go ahead and kind of jump into it. And I already kind of started off there with one of the biggest things I want to point out is Invisible Woman. Now, this has been really interesting, and I know it's due mainly, in my opinion, or my belief, or my understanding, is it's due to Allison Edits, right? Really fantastic YouTube channel covering MCoC. She appears to be a phenomenal player, doing like almost eye-popping, like brain like exploding sort of things previously with Ronan, now with Invisible Woman, and none of it's all real. I want to make that very, very clear. But every time I see that, it makes me feel like this is an amazing player who, through persistence and practice and hard work, is showing us some really cool things that a certain champion can do. But in many cases, it's more about the player themselves than it is about the character. If you like Invisible Woman, though, and you think you can produce similar results, absolutely, by all means, spend your resources. The game is intended to be fun. And if you want to have a good time with Invisible Woman, I think absolutely go for it. Cassie Lane and Jessica Jones and Mr. Fantastic, similar situation there. Have them all rated similarly. Offensively, Cassie and Mr. Fantastic are significantly better champions, but Jessica Jones is a good defender in Battleground, so she kind of earned herself the 2 bow ties there. This is a little, you'll see the 7-star is a little more rigid than the 6-star, in my opinion. Mainly because, the 6 stars are coming towards the end of their life in the end game, where 7 stars are just getting started. So I want to advise a little more strictly as far as the 7 stars are concerned. You'll see that there's 2, 3 bow tie champions on this infographic. Or there's 4, or 3. Yeah, there's 3 of them. I'm bad at math. Anyways, there's 3 of them, and 2 of them sitting right next to each other. Those are, in my opinion, 2 of the best champions in the game, and definitely 2 of the best champions in their class. I wonder if they're ever coming to 7 stars. I hope they both are. I've talked about that before, and we will definitely hear them. Me talk at length about both of them in the science top 10s in Red Guardian and in Scorpion. Red Guardian wants his SIG a bit more, but they're both fantastic champions. Moving on down, let's go ahead and talk really quickly about Omega Sentinel and Penny Parker. They're both very good champions. Penny is someone who we've been talking about a lot lately. Is she kind of having a resurgence, right? Is she doing the Undertaker thing where we thought she was dead? We thought we had finished her off with all of our big cosmic champions and Gallon and Hulkling and Gore. And she's like, you thought you were done with me. I am back. And it seems like she might be, but she's out as a 7-star. And Omega Sentinel, a similar scenario, not nearly as extreme as Penny there, but she seemed like she was on her way down. And then now she came out in those Omega days. I know a lot of people, including free-to-play players, were able to take advantage in that. You know that I took mine, or hopefully you know I awakened mine, and I took mine to rank 2. I specifically used the gem on her because I do think she's very, very good. It's my intention to get a video out on her soon. We'll see, as I am leaving on vacation. I'm trying to pre-record all those videos. I'm not sure that's what I'm going to get to, but she is fantastic. But she's not exactly readily available. She's not out in the basic 7-star crystal. She's not out in the Titan. As far as we know, it was the Omega crystal, and it'll be a significant amount of time before she comes out. So she's definitely deserving of 1 bow tie and potentially a second. If you're using Guardian, going up 1 row, I see him. I want to talk about him quickly. If you're using him for his high sig, or his signature ability is really important to you, the 6-star is obviously going to be much easier to get as a high sig. So even though you're going to see him have a massive rating with the bow ties there in the 7-star, if you're really using him for his signature ability, I think his 6-star would be an excellent investment for you. Darkhawk can actually be a pretty problematic defender, especially in battlegrounds. Not available as a 7-star, so I think they are worth taking a look. I'll address Arcade now, and I don't think I will address... in fact, I'm going to say the same thing about Arcade and Nameless Vision. And, you know, carry this through for the 7-star version is we just don't know. Literally, Arcade came into the game today. As a CCP member, we were not able to test them. I think a lot of this has to do, you know, with Mike moving on. And of course, there's a lot of transition, Kabam Mike, and there's a lot of transition in those departments right now. And I think patience is probably a good idea, especially with some of these things like that. So we just haven't been able to test him. I know Grass did a testing live stream today, and I believe put out a video on him. I highly recommend checking that out. In fact, I will link that in the description if you're interested in Arcade. All the champions, aside from Silver Sable, for a very long time have been phenomenal. So I have a feeling that even if Arcade is more defensive oriented, which is the way it looks like he's going to be, he's still going to have some use. If the worst case scenario is Kindred, then you still have a pretty good champion there. So I want to at least give 1 bow tie. And then we'll quickly talk about Prowler and Shuri. I just mentioned Shuri earlier about being so good in Necropolis. Now, I realize Prowler is available as a 7-star, but he has the 2 bow ties for 2 reasons. One is he's that good. He really is. And I will be getting a video out on him or recording it before I leave on vacation. So that should come out this month here in June. Fantastic champion. A lot of utility, really interesting and unique power control. So he's unique in the tech class. His kit, his build is excellent for his loop of wanting to push the opponent to almost 2 bars of power. So there's a lot of block baiting and things like that. His kit's excellent for it. And then you do have, I'm telling you, it is more than respectable damage with those ruptures and things like that. I really do like him. And his signature ability does seem to help him out a lot as far as his damage is concerned. So if you are trying to choose between like a 7-star unawakened, or you have the 6-star and you can put 6 into him, I would almost recommend going the 6-star route right now. Mine is 6-star rank 5 ascended, and part of why I did that was my thinking was, even if I pull the 7-star, I think I'd have to pull him 2, maybe 3 times before I really consider ranking him up over my ascended 6. So that's why he's a little bit of an outlier there with the 2 bow ties, despite being technically he's available as a 7-star. I don't think he's even coming to the Titan Crystal for like another week or 2. All right, now let's quickly talk about the clarity side. Aegon. I ended up using Aegon from, I think, my final 4 passes, either my final 3 or final 4 pass on Necropolis. I actually had an absolute blast with it, and in some ways it actually saved me units and items. So he's not available as a 7-star. You have no better option, in my opinion, for Aegon and potentially for Necropolis. You know, make sure you check out videos and things like that. Take him available as a 6-star, sig him up, send him, and this is a great way to do it. And then you go and you get all these really great rewards from Necropolis. Atuma, Black Cat, all these champions, it's kind of a similar story. They're all really good. That's why I do have the bow tie there. But they're also available as a 7-star. Hitmonkey, I think, is the first one, and Daredevil, that's not. It's more just like, I know they have their fans. They're both very good. It is in no way am I saying they are not good, right? They at least have the bow ties. This is not Silver Sable and Squirrel Girl and Thor Ragnarok. These are good champions. They have the bow tie. And we'll continue to move on. Now we're going to get to Valkyrie, and she's got the 2. And this is a change. We've talked about this in the tier list and things like that. She's fallen down in the meta a little bit. I think it's just what she does is being asked of us less. We have options, so we can actually attack the nodes and defenders as opposed to just kind of going around them. She's still fantastic. She's still phenomenal. But when you're looking at your 6-star resources, if you were asking me if you're going to go with Valkyrie or Scorpion or Red Guardian, I would very much urge you to go with Red Guardian or Scorpion, unless your science roster is just stacked. So she's one of the unique 2-star or the 2 bow tie characters on there. The next 2, and I'll talk about them very, very briefly, is Medusa. She is a great champion. She's obviously not available as a 7-star. If she were, she probably would go down to 1 bow tie, not because she is less good as a character or a champion, but because she would now be available as a 7-star. And one of the things we want to keep our eye out on is ranking up our 6-stars. And if we can make it so we're not worried about potentially pulling them a 7-star, that just feels better. It really just does. And I think it's not just feeling, I think it does make sense as well. Let's go ahead and talk about the 7-stars. All right, as I said, the 7-star one is going to be a little bit more strict, right? Not that the resources are more important, because I realize a lot of people are coming up in the game, they don't have 7-stars. I have my Vega Prime account, I don't even have 6-stars. So what I'm saying is, like, when I get to that level, I want to make sure my 6-stars are really, really valuable, and I know exactly what I'm doing with them. I'm not taking chances, right? I mean, I want to enjoy the champions, but I think you get my point. A lot of the champions you don't have a single bow tie because they're just not available as a 7-star. So, of course, we're not going to give them a bow tie for this, right? You can't use your resources on them. The best ones have the 3, and let's go over the best ones, right? The 3, Spider-Ham. Phenomenal in every single mode of the game. Maybe not as much in War, but I actually think Spider-Ham could be utilized more in War. He's just a little bit squishy. So if you do happen to make a mistake, even though he has a lot of utility to help him mitigate that, like with his porker, his spider nonsense and his evades and things like that, he's still just one of those characters I know that can concern people in utilizing them in War. Overseer's got 2 stars. He is on his way down, but that's really only because the science class around him got so incredibly strong. He's still one of my favorite champions to play, still incredibly, incredibly strong. And that's why he has 2 bow ties over a lot of these other champions who only have 1. We've already talked about Arcade. Hopefully you heard me talk about Arcade and Nameless Vision in the 6-star infographic. If you didn't, I suggest you go back and listen to that. Essentially, though, the too long didn't read is that my thought process on this, because we don't really know much about either of them as I record this, is that they're probably both going to be pretty good and have uses, right? That's primarily what Kabam has been releasing into the game for well over 2 years now, or close to it. The next champion who has the 3 bow ties is Guardian. Guardian was the first champion ever seriously covered in this game, and it is really cool for me to see how incredible he still is. And the really neat thing about it is that Battlegrounds obviously did not exist at that time, and it feels like that's the mode where he was most meant to shine. My planners would sometimes give me the opportunity to use him in War, and I really appreciated that. But it did often feel like they were like, okay, we know Vega really loves this champion, and he is good for this fight, so let's go ahead and do it. If you're not worried about the high sig, and this is why I talked about it with the 6-star, if you're not as worried about it, this is a phenomenal option. My Guardian, I think, is around SIG 40, SIG 60. So it's really good, but it's not that SIG 200 that so often people had previously wanted. And I've got mine at rank 2 7-star. I use him all of the time. He's in my Battleground stat, questing, the whole thing. Moving on, you got your 2 stars there with like Hulkbuster and Mega Sentinel. We've kind of talked about them already. I think you understand that makes sense. If you were lucky enough to get Omega Sentinel for the Mega Days deal, you know that I have already taken mine to rank 2. I have no regrets. Love using her, and we'll hopefully be getting a video out on her soon. Now, Prowler, we talked about Prowler as the 6-star, so I'm not going to belabor the point, but if you are lucky enough to have the 7-star, and you don't have the 6 or you don't want to rake him up and you do enjoy playing him, it might be worth it to look at the 7-star and see if the kind of increase in strength from 6-star to 7-star makes it so you don't really need his signature ability, or at least not at it at a high level. Shocker is one of the best tech champions in the game. He's so good at a tech champion, he's also one of the best science champions. No, but in all seriousness, he's great, right? I've done so many Shocker videos. Hopefully you know. I just recently did one on his signature ability, how powerful he is, because I did put some 6-0s in there. He's fantastic. Shuri, one of the best champions in the game. I used an unawakened Shuri for the first either 2 or 3 paths in Necropolis. She was absolutely amazing there for me. And then in every other mode of the game too, she's fantastic. Starkey, if you got him, Campo just did a rank 3 Starkey video. You should check that out. I will link that too in the description. Ultron, if you're lucky enough to have the 7-star Ultron, I can't imagine anyone having an awakened one, but if you do, let me know. He's a very powerful champion. His Sig is a lot. Sig isn't necessary to playing him, but it does add a lot of fights you can now take with him. I think he's very worthy of using a 1-2 gem on. Moving on to the other side of the infographic, Atuma, Black Cat. We know these are very good champions. Atuma, obviously more defensive oriented. Black Cat, Atuma more defensive oriented. Black Cat more offensive oriented. Blade, Blade's got his fans for sure. For sure. I like Blade. I just have a lot of other skill champions I'd rather have. Then we go on to the other 3 bow tie champions, right? On this list. And surprisingly, there's actually quite a few on the side. So let's talk about them. We've got Bullseye, a phenomenal defender, but also a good dual threat in Battlegrounds. You can take him off defense if you feel like your opponent's going to very competently handle him. You can use him offensively, right? Chilith, we've been talking about Chilith for forever, ever since Bittersteel went and soloed like all of Necropolis with her. She's really great. She's really, really great. I think it's just that she hasn't been widely available. Crossbones. This video right here that I'm recording will come out before it. But in the next week or 2, I will be putting out a video where my premise is I believe Crossbones is the best 7-star skill champion available in the game. And the first video on it, because it will be a bit of a series, will be trying to debunk the idea that he needs high sig. I think you're going to be impressed, and I think you're going to agree with me. Definitely 3 bow ties for Crossbones, and then the next one will be Mole Man. We've seen what that rank 3 can do. Jaeger's been showing me on my Discord server, getting around auto block, getting around evade, and then Adamantium has been showing me how to play Mole Man when you have debuffs coming in and take hazard shift. If you play him a certain way, you really can't take those nodes. At least Adam can. So I can't deny it. A fantastic, phenomenal champion. Then getting on to Adam Warlock. I'm going to kind of talk about Adam Warlock and Gladiator simultaneously. In a vacuum, I actually prefer Gladiator. I did the video on Gladiator's buff, and I absolutely loved playing him on those fights with the against Future Ant-Man and things like that in the CCP server. So much so that I said, if I pull him, I will take him to rank 5, 200 and send him. And I was lucky enough to do it. It was really fortunate serendipity, I guess is the word. And I talked about it in that video, and I said, the one thing that's concerning me is my ability, or your ability, anyone's ability, to work with him and the AI. It could become cumbersome or difficult, and therefore unenjoyable. And if that starts to happen, then you won't play him. And it's literally what has happened to me. Literally, even though I enjoyed him so much in those fights, and I can see the power. Simula put out an awesome video, and I think MSD has as well. I start to take him into Battlegrounds, and it just all falls apart. The AI will do something that annoys me, and I'm just not having fun playing Gladiator. That's why Adam Warlock has 3 bow ties and Gladiator has 2. Is it feels like if you play Adam Warlock decently, the AI can mess you up less, or is less likely to mess you up, or you have more tricks up your sleeve to still enjoy playing him and be very effective with him. Ultimately, 3 bow ties versus 2. I think we're splitting hairs here. If you've got either one and you enjoy them, take them up. The next is we got a row of a bunch of 2s, and they're all very similar in that they all are very powerful. They're kind of part of this like cosmic middle class. It's kind of unique, and they don't deal with AI manipulation like Gladiator and Adam Warlock do. You know, in Hyperion, I think the concern is always like, is he falling off? Is he falling off? Is he falling off? But he consistently shows us, because people will take him to rank 2 or rank 3 as a 7-star, that he has more than enough damage. It's fantastic damage. He has a variety of ways he can do that damage. You want damage over time? SP1. You don't want that? SP2. You need to heal? Go SP3. You just want to make sure you at least have him at Sig 1. And he's not falling off as much as just the game's growing around him. You know, I'm a huge fan of Deathless King Groot, and then Null, right? I mean, Null has so much utility and damage in there. And if you have him even just awakened as a 7-star, and you don't mind a little bit of a ramp, right, with his debuffs and things like that, I think you're going to be A-okay. Nova, it, you know, appears to be coming in the 7-star Titan Crystal. It's not confirmed, so make sure it's confirmed when you go for it, but it appears to be that's where he's coming. I'm very excited about Nova, but that's going to be a long-term investment. If I pull him, and if I awaken him, you'll see me test it, and then I'll prove it. But right now, my hypothesis is I'm going to play my 6-star rank 5 Ascended a lot more soon than if I played my 7-star, because the signature ability is so important to him. And then the last 2 we'll talk about down there is Venom and Vox. Venom, you know, phenomenal, especially in Battlegrounds. The bleeds are amazing. I believe the video with his relic has come out, and we've talked about why it's so great for Venom and other champions it can be good for. You know, I don't think anyone's going to be too surprised to see the 2 bow ties there. The one you might be surprised by is Vox, especially because you're like, Vega, you just put out the video on Vox and you had him rated, or you had them rated lower than Venom. Like, what's the deal? Well, in there we talked about, hey, you know, Vox's ratings on my rating system, on the rating system with the Illuminati and the spreadsheet wizards, like, it is fluid. We're constantly looking at it. I'm pretty sure that maybe even by the time the cosmic rankings come out this month, Vox will have received that 1 more point to move him up, like we talked about in that video. And then that will probably put them either tied or above Venom. And then also, you know, I was able to kind of watch Grass's stream on Arcade, and I've seen some more things on Arcade. I have not been able to play Arcade myself, test them. I think Vox is going to work out really, really well. And I think this Saga is going to do something that I've talked about and I did enjoy about the last one. I think the same thing's going to happen here. Is it's not going to make us think, or it could if we allow it, but I don't believe it's going to make me think a champion's better than they really are. But it's going to give me a reason to use Vox over, say, I don't know, some other cosmic champion who's not on the list, and I'm struggling to think of one at the moment. And then in doing so, I'll realize that Vox can do all those fights too. I feel pretty strongly about that. Very, very fluid character, very, very versatile. And I think thanks to the Saga, but more importantly to Arcade and other champions, the utility that Vox has is going to be more and more valuable as time goes on. That's it. Thank you so much for watching. As usual, though, please do let me know what you think, and let me know what we got right. Let me know what we got wrong. And as time goes on, I will do my best to make a pinned comment and kind of update as things happen, right? Like once we get a firmer idea on Arcade, or we get a firmer idea on Deathless Vision or things like that, if there's updates, you can check in with me on streams and things like that. I'll be back to streaming probably about 4 days a week when I get back from my vacation. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.